So here we are again in what seems to be my favorite place to hang out in the garage, by the ceiling. Today's project, we're going to mount a retractable extension cord. That's a 50-foot extension cord that can pretty much go anywhere in my garage. It's made by Vevor, not a sponsor, bought it myself. We'll see how it works. And you can mount it up against your ceiling or a wall and pull it down, and then it retracts back up into its case. The issue obviously is that you need to plug it in, and my plugs have been occupied, one by the garage door opener and one by the camera. Again, feel free to look at those videos. So today what we're going to do is we're going to expand this 2 outlets into 4, and then we're going to mount the retractable extension cord on the ceiling, and hopefully all should go well and smooth. A couple of things that are interesting. In the ceiling of my garage, there's a truss that runs the entire width of the ceiling, and it runs right along here. So based on my assumptions, and I know that's a dangerous thing, this box should be mounted on the truss right here, which means this side should be open to open out into. Now that I said that, something weird will happen and it'll be like dug into the truss or something. But anyways, so we're going to expand this outlet out. Then we're going to mount the retractable extension cord, and let's hope it goes smoothly and well. Let's get on with it. All right, so here's the tools we're going to be using for today's project. We have our 50-foot Vevor, not a sponsor, retractable extension cord with the bracket system that it came with. Here's the hardware to mount it and the directions as well. We have our safety equipment to make sure the power is off and it's safe to work on. We have our additional outlet that's going to go in the 2-gang box. The other outlet obviously is in the ceiling. I have some electrical wire nuts just in case. A new 4 outlet cover, and then we have our insulated screwdrivers and our wire cutters, some additional Romex, that's 14-2 Romex, and a hole cutter for the ceiling to get some additional room for the new box that we're going to put in. All right, let's get started. So one of the first things we need to do is unplug what we have here. If anybody's keeping track, it's 102 in here today. Good times. So the next thing we're going to do is make sure the power is turned off to the outlet. This is an outlet tester. You can see that it's lit up. I'm going to go turn it off at the breaker. We should see it go off. And there you go. So we know we're safe now. Now we're going to remove this outlet cover and see what we got to work with. I strongly dislike people who do half-a jobs and builders who do half-a jobs and cut corners. So what we're looking at here is we have 2 pigtails done correctly, we have neutrals, and we have grounds, and then we have 3 hots going right into the outlet. Anyways, we're gonna get that fixed up. We're gonna cut this out a little bit further if it'll fit. The outlet box is shoved forward, so there's about an 1+ inch gap between the end of the box and the end of the drywall, which makes cutting a new hole very tricky to make sure that the cover plate's going to get it all covered. So that is what I'll be dealing with for the next few minutes. I'm not going to bore you with that, so I'll get back to you and we'll fill you in on where we're at. Okay. All right, so it's been a day or 4 and a haircut later, and this is where we're at. So what I did was I grabbed a pair of pliers and I used these to slowly pull the nail that's in the electrical box away from the wood to get it disconnected from the wood, and then I had some pretty heavy duty shears or nippers to cut the nails, which enabled me to get free to the box. Now this box is live right now. I had to plug it back in and get the garage door working, obviously, because I have family coming and going. So I left it on for a minute because I want to show you a couple of things. One, we're going to replace the box. One of the nice things that I found was actually there's 2 layers of drywall separating the garage and the space above it, which is a great thing. So that's additional insulation. That's a good thing. Problem with that is our new box, right? These screws that connect to the back of the drywall are only set for a depth of a 1/4 inch, right? So they can only go a 1/4 inch deep to hold on to the drywall, which is what we're doing. So I'm going to show you what I did for that. And then the other thing is, I made this hole as small as possible, moving it over just enough to get the screw out from this side in a way that hopefully the cover will still cover this entirety of this hole, with space to get the new box into it. So let me show you what I did with for this box to show you how we're going to get that to fit. Okay? All right. So like I just said, we have screws that hold these tabs in on the back of the drywall. So this box will sit like this, right? And as you tighten them, if you tighten the screws, they pull down on the drywall. Well, this is not enough space because I have double layered drywall. So this is what I did. The screws that hold these tabs on are 8/32. So I went and I got some longer screws, some 3-inch screws that we're going to use, and replace them. And if you drop one, that's a good thing. It just means good luck on the other one. I'm just testing them to make sure they're going to fit, because they seem a little snug. It's typically 8/32, but it could be 6/32 screws, so I might have the wrong screws. Yep, wrong screws. Gonna have to go back to the store and get the right ones. All right, we'll be back. Okay, let's try this again. So what I did was, for almost all electrical outlets, plate covers and things like that, it's an 8/32 screw that holds the plate on, that holds stuff inside the electrical outlet. These boxes, apparently this one though is a 6/32, so that's why the ones that I bought, assuming that it was an 8/32, didn't work. So what I'm doing is I'm changing the depth. So this is how deep the drywall can be, right? From that space to that space to this. So now I can go that much deeper and still hold on to the drywall as it tightens up. So as you tighten up the screw, it's going to pull it tight against the drywall. And I needed more depth for the drywall that I'm working with because there's 2 layers. So I'm just going to switch out this other one real quick. Being very careful because it is plastic. Don't tear through it. Just going to remove the screw that comes with it. Exactly where I wanted it to go. There we go. Now the threading on this is slightly different than what came with the box. But it's plastic, so you can kind of cut your own threads. You kind of use it as you're going. You kind of cut your own threads. So you got to hold the tab pretty tight, and then start slowly screwing in so you don't break anything. Okay. All right. So with this done and with this up, we're ready to turn this back off. We're going to trim these wires, and we're going to come back and we're going to try to install our new box. But I also got to make sure that the box fits, and the only way to do that is to make sure this is all cut out. So let's go get the power turned off, and we'll come back and we'll go from there. Okay, we're back. Power's off. I'm just going to test it to make sure. We got no lights. All right, so now, because I'm using this outlet again, I left some length to the pieces that are shoved in the back so that I can wiggle them out and get them out. Okay, so just to keep that in mind. So the next thing we're going to do is get the old box out, hopefully, and get the new box in. We may be doing a little drywall trimming. So because the hole is already bigger than I'd like it to be because of how it was installed, I'm going to use a knife to just literally shave off some drywall instead of an actual drywall knife. because I don't want to make it too big. I want to just make little fine cuts so it's just big enough for the outlet to come out, so we're not left with all this extra space, which is going to cause a big mess, just FYI. Okay, so what I'm trying to do right now is we have a line wire coming in and a load wire coming out. Line is bringing power into the outlet and load is bringing it out to something else. So I need to be able to feed the wires out of the box, because there's on each side, to be able to drop the box down. So that's kind of what I'm working on, is wiggling the wires out so that the box will drop down. Okay, let's see if our new box will fit, or if more trimming needs to be done. Okay, looks like we need to do some more trimming. Okay, just a hair off the front. Well, big surprise, the camera overheated, so we're back. We're going to now fish these wires through the new box and see if we can't get that set in there, and then start working on the outlets. All right. We did it. All right, now what we're going to do is set up what's called a pigtail. So we're going to get all of our neutrals and put them together in an organized fashion. We're going to get our grounds. We're going to separate our grounds. And then we're going to get our hots. So our hots being the black wire, our neutrals being the white wire, and our grounds being the bare copper. Now, you'll notice I have not tightened the flanges yet, and that was intentional. I wanted to make sure that we had plenty of room to get the wiring out before I tighten the box in. So we're just gonna tighten this up, and you'll feel it starting to tighten. You'll feel it pulling against the drywall. You also see the box will start to squeeze up a little bit. Okay. So, we're set there. Typically, if you're using old wire, you want to trim off the tips, the end of it, so that you can unsheath some fresh, clean, new wire, so it's not got grooves in it from being tied up and things like that. It's just a better way to make sure the connectivity is there and that the wire's carrying the power that you need it to. Now, I'm going to make some pigtails, so I'm going to have three pigtails. So one of them is going to go, we're going to have two coming out of the white, one to each outlet. We're going to have two coming out from the black, one to each outlet, and two coming out from the ground, one to each outlet. So let me get some Romex and we'll be back. Okay, so I got my pigtails cut. Just remember, this is always a much more fun project to do when you're doing it in your garage in the middle of summer with no electricity on a ladder. It adds that little, something to it. So, here's our two white or neutral pigtails, right? So we're gonna put these together. We're gonna make sure our other ones are all at the same length. We're going to get our lineman pliers and we're going to weave them all together. Again, you got to make sure that they're all lined up the same length so that they're all connected. Because if you miss one, that's going to be a problem. And we have our two pigtails. Okay, so now we have our hot pigtails, we have our neutral pigtails, and our ground pigtails. Now I'm going to do something that's not necessarily required, but I'm hoping to not touch these again and just shove them up there. So I'm going to wrap some electrical tape around the top of each of these nuts just for some extra protection. Alright guys, in the tradition of something going wrong, I apparently lost the video footage of me actually installing the outlets in the ceiling, so I thought I would do a quick close-up so you can actually see the wiring and what's being done here. So now we're going to wire it up. You can use the hole in your wire trimmers to create the loop that goes onto the hook. So there you have now two outlets. So you have your two conductors coming in, bringing power in for your line in, both connected to the brass side. You have your neutrals coming in, pigtailed onto the silver, or in this case black side. And then you have your ground coming in. This one's connected to the box and the main ground, and you have pigtails to the two outlets. And that's how you make one outlet into two. Okay, let's go turn the power on and make sure that they're connected right. Well, the lights all went on and it didn't trip the breaker, so that's a good sign, number one. Let's try it out. All right, we got two orange, that's good. Two orange. Two orange. Two orange. Okay, so job done. Not too bad. Well, you know, if you got 100-degree heat and you're climbing a ladder and all that stuff, it's a little annoying, but not crazy. Not tough. If I can do it, you can do it. So now that we have this done, I'm going to plug in the garage door and the camera, and then we'll move on to hanging the retractable extension cord. There you go. Alright, so to finish up, we're going to mount the bracket for the retractable extension cord. Now we're going to mark, I put paint up here just to keep the drywall dust from coming down. So you're going to want to find wood in your ceiling or wall, because you need to mount it into wood to get it done. Now if you can't, and you're in a place where there's only drywall, I would cut out a piece of wood the length of your drywall studs, whether it's behind the drywall or in front of the drywall, and then mount the wood into the drywall first and then bolt this onto the wood. You have to have it in wood, because with the pulling that you're going to have on it, it's going to rip right out of the drywall. Now I attempted to use my stud finder, but because of the double layer of drywall, it made it very difficult to accurately find it. So I actually crawled up in the attic space to find a better option. Okay, we're going to pre-drill with our holes. Alright, so hopefully you can see this. On this particular model, one end of the bracket has these little notches, and those notches are what's used to feed it into the bracket. And then on each end there's a screw hole to put a safety screw to keep it from sliding out. This is obviously if you're going to go on a wall as well. We're going to put our screw in. And again, this screw isn't holding anything in or tight. It's just keeping this from sliding out when you pull it back and forth. So let's get her plugged in. Let me get the cable cleaned up and we'll give it a shot. So that's it. Here's the extension cable to plug in right here, which is going to leave me some slack. So I'm going to figure out how to get this cleaned up. But we should plug it in and you'll see we have power. We're ready to go. And just like that, you can slide it back and forth. You can move it around. Pretty great. Let me get these cords cleaned up. Well, what'd you guys think? Not too bad, right? Pretty straightforward. Just make sure you find some wood to drill into so that bracket is solid. This is something that's going to be very helpful for me. There's 3 outlets on this and I use extension cords all the time in my garage. Anyways, let me know what you think, what your thoughts are. Hopefully this is a good brand. Maybe I'll check back with you in a couple of months and see how it's doing once I've used it quite a few times. If this has been helpful for you or entertaining in the slightest, think about liking and subscribing. I'm just trying to grow my little channel. I appreciate all your support and we'll catch you on the next project.